Okay, so explaining how I got here. Basically, the last 5 years, I have been struggling with just an extra 10 to 15 pounds. Um, this really was the cause of lifestyle change, really, because what happened before that was most of my jobs were just really active. And so I switched to something that's not as active. And so that built in exercise just isn't there anymore. And so my eating habits didn't change. And then I would just very slowly start to collect some weight. I used to always be able to like binge on snacks, once a week or something and never really made much of a difference. That's not the case anymore. I'm also 40, so I'm going to be going through some hormone changes over the next several years. And one thing that's really important when you are approaching perimenopause is to store as much muscle as possible. And I know this to be true because I worked in senior living for a little while. And there were a lot of people who were obese that basically were immobile by the time they were 80. Um, and there was a woman who actually was very slim, and a generally active person, I would say. That was kind of her personality, but not a workout person. And she did not store enough muscle, so she did have to use a walker. And she did end up on the floor a couple times. So I want to be walking as long as I'm on this planet. I do not ever want to be immobile. That is my biggest fear. Um, my brain is busy, and if my body can't keep up with it, I'll be absolutely miserable. So I want to store as much muscle as I can. And this is different from losing weight in the past, because I did lose weight for my wedding, and that was just for the sake of losing weight. This is a kind of, I don't know. This is really, it's a little more important. I need muscle this time. And I do want to sculpt my body. Women, when we get in our 40s, our looks are fading, and that's just the reality of it. We're getting older and having to get used to looking older. And so you want to, you have a kind of a desire to control the things about your body that you can. And so I would really like to have a body that I'm just like really proud of. So I just want to like the way I look at my clothes, but I also want to be strong. I've been so fatigued, and like my endurance is shot just the last few years, and it's so embarrassing. And I've got a toddler, so lifting her up has been a problem. But I started working out this week. I was doing 15-minute workouts every day, strength building workouts, really like minor basic stuff, like not necessarily even breaking a sweat every time. I just made sure that I did 15 minutes, that I did a full 15 minutes. I'm really working on my core right now because my back has been suffering. I'm also working on glutes. That's just something I've always wanted to sculpt and shape. That's a part of my body I've not always particularly loved, but also that is going to aid in supporting my back. So, and then I will throw arms into it a little bit too, and we'll just see where we go from there. Just watching videos on YouTube and Instagram reels to get some ideas for workouts. And I'm starting with nothing. There's no gym membership. I have some 5-pound weights, and I'm just going to start with as little as possible, because the other thing that I'm doing is a complete financial makeover. And so I've been working on that for the last couple of years. I am finally debt free now, and I just have a little itty bitty emergency fund. But I'm not going to go get a gym membership, and I'm not going to go start buying a bunch of fancy exercise equipment, because I don't need that, and I've never needed it. And I want people who are trying to lose weight to not have that excuse. So if you're watching me, you'll see that I'm doing everything with just what I have. And then I may reward myself with a gym membership later on as I'm making some really good progress. I'm open to doing that, but I really, I've got two things going on. It's like impulse control. I need to say no to certain foods or certain quantities of certain foods, and I need to say no to spending money. And so, that's just what I'm going to be doing for the next year. So I am going to post a vlog every Monday. I am going to weigh in, so that'll be kind of the end of my workout week. I will also reveal how much I spent, and how much I saved. So I won't necessarily have any financial progress week to week, but I should every 2 to 4 weeks. So, and then, there's some other things that I hope are going to come out of this too, is just getting some more balance in my life. I mean, keeping up with cleaning around my house, all of these things I think are really deeply connected. And then once I can get, those things dialed in, I think it's going to be like a vicious cycle, but not vicious in the other way. A good cycle, a healthy cycle, a balanced cycle. So I look forward to that. So if you're popping in here for some motivation or just someone to relate to, because guys, I'm going to mess up. And I will be transparent about that. When I fudge up, you will know. But I am going to do this. I will have made huge progress a year from now, and I'm really excited because I already know I can do it. So here we go. Okay, always weighing in my underwear for consistency. 130. I'm going to try that again because it seemed a little confused. I think I'm a little over 129. Okay, I'm going to try it again because I don't think that I'm 129. I think I'm 130. Okay, it's pretty consistent saying 129.8, and that's the end of the day. So I will always be weighing myself at the end of the day in my underwear on Mondays. All right, just getting in the last of my steps for the day. So I have a built-in 3,500 steps just from everyday things like doing chores, chasing around the toddler. And I tested this out over a couple of days, so I know that it's pretty consistent. So I need to get around 7,000 intentional steps here on the health app to know that I've met a minimum of 10,000 steps. So some of you might have seen the scale and you're wondering, like, 11 pounds, that's not that much. Like, you'll lose that really fast. The thing is, that is just one of the goals, because this is more physique oriented. And I, believe it or not, I do struggle. I stress eat, and I will just pack on calories out of nowhere sometimes, depending on, what life is throwing at me. So I am not doing any calorie restricting for the first month. So that number's really not going to move a whole lot. I'm more focused on strength building and just getting muscle again. So I imagine for this month, I might end up getting down 5 pounds. We'll see. But again, I'm just going to focus on clean eating, just, whole foods. I'm not counting calories. And I am a savory person. I love fat. I love salt. So I'm like steak, avocado. I love stuff like that, but it's really high in calories. So for weight loss, sometimes that works against me. But I don't beat myself up as long as I've eaten something that is good for me and it's nourishing me. I know some people struggle with sweets. Thankfully, I'm not that kind of person, but I definitely will crave soda sometimes, and that's kind of a seasonal thing. Like, sometimes I just want a soda every day for like a month or two for some reason. So what I'd like to share on here are some of the things that I do to replace some of those behaviors. A lot of this, we all have willpower. We all have impulse control. We can say no to things, but then we just don't. So one of the things that I found that is helpful when I have a goal like this is really just outsmarting myself. So I come up with all sorts of mental gymnastics to get myself to do or not do the things that need to be done or not done. So a perfect example, and I know a lot of other people who do this too, speaking of financial goals, trying to not spend money can be really difficult because a lot of times we just get we need that instant dopamine hit for a thing that we don't really need. So a lot of people will fill up their Amazon cart and then they'll just it feels good to put all that stuff in your cart and feel like you're going to have it, and then just leave it in there. And then you leave it in there and then you keep going back to it and going back to it. And one by one, you kind of start ticking things off the list until maybe you finally make a purchase of $40 or something. So things like that are actually really helpful if that works for you. Things that I have to avoid. This is really funny. So I started getting obsessed with watching My 600-Pound Life. And Hoarders was a show that I used to watch because it motivated me to clean, because I would see all the clutter and then it would make me antsy and anxious and I'd have to get up and start cleaning. So it was a great motivator for me to clean. My 600-Pound Life, you would think, okay, well, watching that would be motivation for me to get up and exercise or make a healthy meal. No, I am very, very suggestive when it comes to food, watching people eat on TV. So that was actually a trigger for me to go eat. And that's where I probably put on a lot of this weight over the last year. So I can't really watch that show anymore. And if I'm going to watch that show, then I need to make sure that I have already eaten or I'm involved in some kind of activity while I'm watching the show that's going to keep my hands busy. But yeah, you guys, you know your own brains, really be present to those little sneaky conversations that come in, like, oh, you need this, or like justifications for buying things, justifications for eating things, and just go, thanks for sharing, but no thanks. Not today, brain. So to get my steps in, I'm actually just walking laps around the house. And we used to live in town, and so I would walk everywhere. It was really easy to get steps in. I would, throw the kids in the stroller, and we walked to pretty much wherever to run errands, whatever we could carry. That is in the warm weather because it rains here most of the year. So didn't like to do that as much in the rain, but that's something I'm going to have to get over. I need to just get out and walk in the rain and put on a poncho or get an umbrella or something, and that can't be an excuse anymore. Because there's just too many days that it's raining here. So otherwise I'll never be out and doing anything. And so now we are out in the country and I have a lot of hills. So yes, I could and should start walking the hills, but I can't really do that with the toddler and I need to be home. So I'm just walking around the house to get my steps in. I mean, that's all you have to do. You just need to move. And going back to food triggers, the way that I'm going to format these videos is that I will show some of the things that I'm making. I will only show healthy meals that I'm making, but I also will do them only at the end of the videos, and there will be a trigger warning and if you guys get triggered by seeing people like seeing food on the internet, I don't want you watching that part, so just click off the video, okay? Okay, here's the trigger warning. I'm going to talk about food, so if you can't handle it, end the video here. Okay, doing a spinach salad, and this is probably a medium to high calorie salad once I add the vinaigrette. Just because it's salad doesn't mean it's low calorie. This is healthy. It's got a lot of nutrition, but it is not low in calories. So if you're counting calories, don't put cheese and seeds and nuts in your salad. Also made some quiche. Also high in calories, especially the crust because it's full of butter. Again, nutritious and high in calories. Just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's low in calories, but we are going to enjoy this because I'm not counting calories today. Thanks for watching. See you next week.